Hello, Iron 5 students. This is Mr. Smith coming to you from the big chair. We are going to begin a new writing unit, and that new writing unit is on poetry. It is not quite April yet, but I figured it would still be a good time to start a writing unit on poetry. And why did I mention April? Because April is actually National Poetry Month. So, if you have picked up your items from the school, you should have received in your remote learning bags something that looks similar to this. Okay, I wanted everyone to have a new notebook to go home that you can use for this entire poetry unit and beyond. But specifically, while you're writing your poetry, you can use this to do so. Okay, so I hope you enjoy that new notebook. And of course, there are spaces for illustrations, so feel free to illustrate your poetry as well. Okay, so for this first poetry assignment, all I want you to do is watch the video on Google Classroom that defines poetry in a pretty cool way by Flocabulary. And then I want you to type up a poem, any poem. It can be any form, it can be any kind of poem, it can be short, it can be long. Basically no rules. The only rule is it can't be prose, and prose is anything the opposite of poetry. So your stories, your short stories, your fiction stories, your essays, your paragraphs, okay? If you're still a little bit uncertain after you watch the video and read the definition of what a poem is, I'm going to read a few poems for you now just to give you an idea of what a poem can be, okay? There's variations, millions of variations of what a poem can be. So poetry can be a very fun way to write. It's like a painting with words. You're creating a unique writing to describe something in a special way, whether it's a topic or a moment in time. So anyway, I'll stop talking about that for now, and I'm going to read you a few poems that I enjoy. Okay. We're going to start off with this book. It's one of my favorite poetry books, Hailstones and Halibut Bones. It has poems about colors, okay, and it uses metaphors to describe these colors. And we're going to go over the tool metaphor later on, so you don't need to worry about that right now. But I'm going to read probably many poems out of this book. And the first poem is called What is Purple? It's by Mary O'Neill. What is purple? Time is purple, just before night, when most people turn on the light. But if you don't, it's a beautiful sight. Asters are purple. There's purple ink. Purple's more popular than you think. It's sort of a great-grandmother to pink. There are purple shadows and purple veils. Some ladies purple their fingernails. There's purple jam and purple gel. And a purple bruise next day will tell where you landed when you fell. The purple feeling is rather put out. The purple look is a definite pout. But the purple sound is the loveliest thing. It's a violet opening in the spring. So there's one type of poem. It's a poem about a color and describes it in a very unique way, the color purple. I'm going to read one poem by one of my favorite poets, Robert Frost. This is a very short poem that he wrote, and I felt it was very timely because it's called A Patch of Old Snow. And there's not much snow out there, but once in a while you can see a patch of old snow outside. There's a patch of old snow in a corner that I should have guessed was a blow-away paper the rain had brought to rest. It is speckled with grime, as if small print overspread it, the news of a day I've forgotten, if I ever read it. So there's another poem by Robert Frost. As you can see, these poems do rhyme, the ones that I'm reading to you, but not all poems rhyme at all, okay? And that's perfectly acceptable. But we'll get a lot more into that as our poetry unit goes on. I'm going to read one more poem. It's called Art Class by X.J. Kennedy. Miss Beecher said I don't know how to make a lifelike tree. Well, all I did was look and draw how branches looked to me. I know what you're supposed to do. you make a Y, and sitting on both its arms another 2 Ys, make them go on splitting. I went and looked up at a bough with bark like scraped black leather, and neither does a tree know how to fit a tree together. Now that's the end of that poem. Did you catch that? What it was trying to say? It was trying to express that the art teacher told me how to draw a tree like this, but I'm having trouble doing it. And then I looked at an actual tree, and it looks like a tree doesn't even know how to look the way it's supposed to look. So it's supposed to be a humorous poem at the end there. All right, I'm going to stop reading some poetry for now. Again, please watch the video, read the definition of a poem. You can read more examples on Google Classroom, and I hope you enjoy this poetry unit. You may have some feelings about poetry that are negative. Poetry is all about love and chocolates and flowers, and those things are fine, but poetry can be about any type of subject. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this unit. By the end of this unit, we're going to have a nice book of poetry. Each of you are going to have a nice book of poetry when you're all done. All right, we'll see you later.